So, good morning, everyone. We are here together to talk about the, for me, very fascinating subject that of past lives, of reincarnation for awakening support. And we invited Susanne Eijssen, and she invented something that nobody else had, and it's called a Gnostic Journey. And she will tell us all about her experiences uh, with coming up to the concept, and also the many people that she journeyed with into their past lives. I myself, I've had a fascination for reincarnation ever since I was little, ever since I was a teenager. And it was especially the many stories and books I read about children, because I know, grown-ups, they can invent things and they can say, oh, I was Napoleon in a past life or whatsoever. But children are so pure, and there's so many stories around of children being on a holiday in surroundings they never were before, and they're telling their parents, like, oh, here in this castle there used to be a door. And then his parents are like, how do you know? And this is like a child's fantasy. And then they say, no, but behind here and here, you will find a statue. And then they walk around the corner, and well, there you have the statue. So these are the stories that really convince me there is something more than this life. I've been brought up religious. I threw that out when I was about 8, and I decided I believed evolution more. But I don't believe in evolution either anymore. But past lives, it really kept on having a grip on me. I read a lot of books about it. I don't know if any of you knows this one, Journey of Souls by Michael Newton.
I heard about it, yeah.
It's fascinating. It's an American professor, PhD, and he interviewed, it's like Dolores Cannon. You probably know Dolores
Oh,
Cannon.
yes, I do know it. Yes, I have it in Dutch. The Ziekenreis. Yes, I know.
So what Professor Newton did, he didn't bring people into regression to ask about their past lives, but he brought them into regression to tell about what happens between their lives, which is even more interesting. And from books like this and other information I took in over the years, I think I got a grip of what happens in the soul world. Because all these stories, if you read Michael Newton's book or Dolores Cannon and hundreds of people telling about what happens between the lives, they all tell the same story. And that is a story of souls coming back to their soul family after death and entering, it's like kind of groups of souls that is your soul family. And they go there to learn and to grow and to assess their past life and to assess their process as a soul. And then when they choose, because everybody gets to choose if they want a new life, they do that because they want to experience how it is to be in matter. Because as a soul, there's unlimited, abundant love, and everything is there. But you cannot experience, holding somebody, loving somebody physically, the joy of eating, the joy of sunlight, the joy of, just feeling and having all your senses there. So that is what souls choose to experience. Also, of course, processes of aiding the earth, aiding the processes of other people, and also for their own soul to grow. So what happens is that people or souls go into some kind of room with a group of people called the elders, and they get to see a screen with their future life, and they get to see it from birth to end of it, like in a matter of minutes or maybe even shorter. There's no such a concept as time, of course, and they get to see it. And they get to see, like, okay, this is the life I will be in. And then they get to decide if that is the life they want. They can say no. And if they say yes, they will be brought into another room. And there will be other souls there souls that you will meet in your future life, and you will make some kind of contracts. And you will make contracts that once something happened in your life, you will get a clue, and you can follow that clue. It can be somebody that will become your future husband or wife, or it can even be a child in the street that smiles at you once, but you needed that smile at the moment. It can be the boss that was really hard on you and made you have a burnout in order to set your processes in line. So all these agreements and of course the the life itself, we do not remember when we are born. But if we pay attention, there are certain points in our life when we know we have a choice, that we know that something important is up. And I think that is, it's like kind of marks, like a mark. And if we pay attention, that will also bring us to our purpose and our destiny.
Yes.
So, Susanne, I heard some crazy stories about you and the journeys you made with a friend of mine. And I thought, I have to make an appointment with Susanne. I already knew something about past lives. But I wanted to make this Gnostic journey with you. So, we had a very synchronistic appointment also, because I knew you didn't have the time to meet me, and you actually had your agenda closed until December. But then you contacted me through Instagram, and you had the guidance to help people who are, stepping into their purpose and helping the world in this time. And synchronistically, you had free space in your agenda for next week. So then I met you. So I will tell about my experience with you later, but maybe you can introduce yourself and explain what it is that you do with your Gnostic journeys.
Yes, it's what you say. It's very fascinating for me. Also, every session is special, and there are a lot of miracles happening, a lot of magic. Sometimes even for me, it's mind puzzling. But I started with this work since 2013. It's not really that I invented it, because I learned it from somebody else. It's not something you can learn on a school. It has to be passed, and it comes on your path when you are ready for it. So that was in 2008, I think. So I did a lot of own sessions. I did my own sessions in the beginning with somebody else, and then I did it alone. And I wrote a lot, because I wanted to. It was not just important for me that it did work, but I also wanted to understand why it worked. What is this? What are the processes behind? And after my own sessions, well, they still go on, but I in the beginning I had to do more. After those sessions, I started to read, and a lot of Dolores Cannon also. So I wanted to comprehend, what do I experience, and what do other people experience, and what do they explain. And it was just like a puzzle coming together. And this Gnostic journey is something that is very, very old. It originates from ancient Egypt and ancient Greek. So it has been done for thousands of years, but it had been underground. It was heresy, they said, from the church. So it was in the underground, and now it's coming to surface even more and more. And I help people to come in touch with their in Gnosis they know it. They call it their light, their inner light, the God's light within themselves, and we have to remove the blockades that hide that inner light. So sometimes it's a blockade from when people were a child and there were traumas. Sometimes there are traumas from former lives. Sometimes that it was when they were in their mother's womb. So your higher self takes you to that point in your soul existence where those blockades originated, and then we can solve them. So it's not only past lives, but it's also traumas from this life.
What have you learned in all these years of doing Gnosis? What have you learned about past lives? What is your angle?
Well, what you said, we make appointments with people. So we meet people who we have met in former lives also. And sometimes we switch roles. I remember a session with a woman who was, after 10 years of marriage, she became afraid of her husband out of nothing. And we went, we made contact with her fear, and it originated in a world war when she was killed, and we healed that part of her, the soldier who had died traumatically, and I felt that it had something to do with her husband. I mostly feel the information before the client does, so I let her ask, who was it? Who was the person who killed you? Do you know him in this life? And that was her husband. And now there are husband and wife to heal that part and to start loving each other. So we often meet people from other lives to heal parts that were traumatized back then.
Yeah, this is a concept that is, I noticed. I don't know how your experience with that is. It's sometimes hard for other people. If you meet people that have a really hard life now with a lot of struggles and, passed on loved ones, you cannot say to everybody like, oh, okay, you chose this life.
No.
No, it's not something that most people would be open to. But I've read stories about like people losing several babies. And it's like, oh, why on earth are people going through so much pain and suffering? And they went into a session with Michael Newton. And it was their story that they were a couple together in the Middle Ages. And they killed many children. So it's really like karmic return. They came now here to end, actually to make up for that other life and to experience how it is.
Yeah, and that's the importance to go back to that life, because you cannot comprehend it with your mind. It's what you say. You cannot say, well, you choose for this. No, it's on the earth level. It's very traumatizing for people and very hurtful to experience these things. And we also have to keep confirming this. It is very sad. So we don't have to say what you say, you choose for it. No, there are two levels. There is the earth level, the person you are now, and there is the soul level. But those are two different things. So when you go back to other lives, then you can comprehend, and then you can also more accept things from this life and not be so resistant to it anymore. It becomes softer in your system.
Can you share some of the really special journeys you've made with clients?
Yes,
Ones
of course.
that really left an imprint on you.
Yes, I remember a session with a young girl, around 20 years, and when we started, she got in panic. Well, the people are not in hypnosis when I work with them. They are still conscious, but in another state of consciousness. So they are as well in another state as also conscious. So they experience things, but they still know, okay, I am here in this room. When I open my eyes, everything is done and it's okay. So we started the session, and she felt a kind of panic, and she had a pressure on her chest, and there came images from drowning in another life. She had that happened a lot in those dark ages, that people, and especially women, were drowned with a very big stone around their leg, so that they would sink immediately and had no chance to survive. And she drowned in that water, and she felt a panic, and she told me, that now I understand why I am so afraid of drowning in this life. I've always had this fear since I was a child, and she didn't know why, but yeah, that was when it originated. So there was an unsolved trauma of a soul wound, actually. That was very clear. It explained a lot. Other sessions, well, there was a session, you've heard about it, Karina, the woman who was a very big, krijgsheer, warrior. How do you, kind of warrior who conquered a lot of lands in the past. And she found out who she was back then. And she also learned more about her role in this life. What is her role now? It's also to inspire and motivate people, but not with fighting with swords and other things, but in another way.
Sword of light and truth.
Yes, that's what it is. Yes.
You also met this person recently who worked in the corporate world or political world and asked herself, what am I doing in this surroundings, right? The one that was the priestess.
Yes. She's a woman who has a high-ranking position, and she always feels resistance from her colleagues and other people. But she feels that what she does and what she does in her work is accurate. And when other people say the things she said before, they get the credits for it. But when she said it, she didn't get the credit. So there was also always something going on with her. While she is very, very intelligent, I could feel that, and high sensitive. And she discovered that she was a high priest in the time of Atlantis, and that she had returned back now to shine the light. But when you shine the light on the things that are not really okay, you have a lot of resistance in this life. So she understood that the resistance was not against her as a person, but against her as an energy. So people reacted on her light. It was not because the person, the earth person she is now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fascinating. If you want to tap into past lives, well, you can book a session, of course, with Susanne. But what you can also do is look at your own life. What are the repeating things in your life, the repeating patterns, the relationships with people, like this person that was a priest, that she wasn't listened, or nobody would listen to her, or the fears that you have, the memories. Sometimes it's not really complete memories, but just I have some images of lives. I know one image of a street in the 70s with a car, and that's the only thing, the only memory I have. I don't know anything else, but I know it's from a past life because it feels very, very familiar. But I don't know anything else. And there's smells, certain smells,
yes.
Sounds, sometimes a song, or even countries. Like people have a fascination for a country. Déjà vus also. Déjà vu. How do I say this in English? Déjà vus. Somebody else, because I really say this wrong. So they show you. They can show you like little shivers, little slivers of different lives, and you can learn to tap into that.
Yes, and there is often a memory of your soul. It's not really that you have this image and you can explain it in your head, but you just feel it. You just know in your inner center that it's true. When I was a child, I remember when I was, I think, 10 years old at elementary school, we had English course, and it was about the Druids. Well, I wasn't really into the Druids, but it felt so familiar. I've never forgotten it but the most memories from my elementary school time are gone. But I still remember those Druids. It hooked me, And then, you know, there is a memory of a past life when you just feel it inside, or when there comes an emotion. When I work with people and there comes up a trauma of a past life, there is a lot of emotions, a lot of grief, a lot of sadness, sometimes a shock, disgust also. This, so something in your system starts to work, and it's beyond your mind. It just, you feel it all over, and then you know it's true because you cannot make that up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have this feeling with people walking around with the mouth caps. I just know I've been there. Yeah, anybody? You same? I just know, and I know this was used in former days in slavery to have people shut up. It's been something satanic that's been used for ages. And I just know when I see people walking around, I feel this. It feels very familiar.
Yeah, you feel it. So it's not just the thought of, oh, this is not right. No, it goes straight into your heart and your whole being, and you just want to get away, but you cannot really explain it, but you just feel this isn't right. So I totally understand what you mean.
Yeah. What is also interesting is if you have children, if you have little children, to listen to them. Because children until they're 7, they're more open, but really until they're 4, they're really living in two worlds. And my eldest, who is now 13 and doesn't want to know anything about anything off mainstream, but when he was like 3, he was playing with me with his little animal toys, like African animals, like zebras and lions, and we had some trees. And he was making a story, and he said, "Come listen to my story." So he made a whole play of these animals and the trees. And then he told me, before, ages ago, I was a storyteller. People always came to me from everywhere to listen to me.
Wow, that's so beautiful.
And he had a really strong fear of volcanoes. Well, we live in Amsterdam. We don't have any volcanoes. There's nothing to fear about. But every night in his bed, he was crying because he was so afraid of volcanoes and fire.
Oh, yeah, then you know it's true. Hey? Yes, experienced it.
I went to my aura reader, and she could see into his lives, and she said, "Oh, yeah. Indeed, he was a storyteller in the African plains. And way before that, he was living in an area like where there was a volcano outburst, and he was covered under the lava. And you should tell him that it was then and not now." So I went next night when he was afraid again. I went to his bed and I told them, like, I've been talking to somebody about this, and she tells me that indeed you are so afraid of volcanoes because in another life, not now, but back then, you were buried under the lava stream. And that's why you're afraid. And you don't need to be afraid anymore because that was then, it is not now. And he was never afraid after.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
People told me, like, "Oh, why are you telling a small child things like that?" It was like, okay, it helped, so why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he mentioned it. There was a fear. I mean, when there is nothing going on, you don't go to another reader and tell your child about past lives. There's no necessity. But when it is an issue, yeah, you can better do something with it.
Yeah, he never was afraid after. Never spoke about it anymore. And he doesn't remember anything about telling these stories either.
No.
And since he already intuitively, knows, like he has this knowing, so there is also this openness there, even from a child to receive this information, because what he remembers also shows that this is something he's already fully like conscious and aware about it. And wow, that's so impressive and amazing.
It goes away as we grow older.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. So any one of you maybe has an experience of more experience from past lives or memories or things that come up now having this conversation?
For me, I don't remember much like from my childhood in the sense of remembering something from past lives. What happened for me is just in the past 2 years, when I went on my own inner journey, healing journey, and to work with plant medicines, my consciousness expanded and I could remember more. And then I remembered as well, I had as a child, a book about Egypt. And I mean, I had several books, but with that book, it was a feeling. I remember with feelings, and then I get like visions, but not in the sense of that I can see memories. I see more energy and colors and or some shapes, and with that I remember. And I remembered, like, I specifically remembered this book, and the like pharaohs, but that I connected it to something, but I didn't know what it was. But then, like, yeah, this year a lot with plant medicine opened up, and I could remember a past life in ancient Egypt, but also I remembered not being there as a in a human form, but as another being from another star system. And that's for me like how then my consciousness and my remembrance started to open up and to expand. And um, I in meditation, in own meditations, I then started to go a little bit for myself in past lives to feel into where I'm stuck in my beliefs or where I'm stuck in patterns that I always felt I healed it in this life, but it didn't make any more sense. Like, why do I keep on repeating this? It's an energetic pattern that is still like in my system. And then I could connect for myself like some past lives, but I also remember lives on other planetary system, but as well as some with some information like how a little bit life was there, but a lot it's on the feeling level. When I see things like a specific tree reminds me of beings and of another planetary system, because the way it's formed kind of describes how the communication and the energy there works. It's very hard. I cannot translate that in this life, but it's just a feeling of knowing. And the expression into words and to describe it that it would make sense for the mind, it's there, it stops for me.
So you cannot comprehend it with your mind, but you can feel the truth and what it means.
Yeah, it's what Karina said before. It's this it's this feeling of you've known this before, and it's not from here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this feeling of remembering and on a soul level, and then going into it more. Sometimes the more information comes with the feeling. It's like kind of starting to read the feeling and taking out information. But for me personally, it was not that I can remember everything in very detailed, like a whole story, but most likely I so far I didn't meet that on my journey. But it's an ongoing process as well, and sometimes step by step more information is coming to the surface when you need it. That's how I feel.
Yes, that's definitely true. Yes. And do you know anything about your role in ancient Egypt as that being?
Yeah, it was connected to the ascension process. So, and that's why also feel why I'm here and why everything started to open up within myself as well, especially this year. And it's connected. And back then, we I was or we it was not just me was there, but with high priestesses, and it was also working with DNA to upgrade the DNA to be ready to hold higher frequencies, to be ready for this ascension process. And it felt like back then it was like in this well, in another form, so not in the human vessel, but also learning how to come into this life now, by upgrading the DNA in human form, because I feel that during a plant medicine ceremony, I also had a sort of soul walk in. I could see this being then coming into me and becoming, we were uniting, which was also me. And being there and learning about upgrading the DNA of humans was part of this process I'm still in, but I started this year. So there's this connection.
Yeah, beautiful.
Wow.
It's something very important, the upgrading of our DNA. That's in bending.
Yeah.
So your role will become more clear, and you will have more memories. It's like sometimes they are unlocking, right? They only tell you what you need to know now, and then the next step, and then the next step, right?
Yeah, because it's also so much that the integration part is such a big thing. Like you always receive so much information and also new energy, like new frequencies coming in. But your physical body also needs to be capable to actually to hold this, and the physicality is always a little bit behind the awareness level, and that's and that's why it's important not to be too overloaded when you open up and to something greater than what you are in this physical form right now.
Yes, that's very important what you tell. Yes, you have to digest small pieces and not everything at once. Yes, especially when those big lights or other beings integrate within you, it's hard for the body to adjust. So it always comes in the at the time when you are ready for it. You don't have to go searching for it. It will come to you when it's time. You will get a signal. So very beautiful, the process.
Yeah, it is. Sometimes, like, I would love to have a bit more details, but that's the personality as well, like the human personality that wants to understand more in this reality, about, because before we were talking about, or you were talking about incarnation, and then also Karina, the rooms, like before coming in and making the soul contracts. I in one journey I also saw like literally this room I was in before incarnating this time on Earth, and it was, it was such a beautiful room, and I could see, I cannot describe what symbolic or geometric shape it was, but I could see also in this room who else is incarnated on this planet, and specifically one picture that I saw was the Dalai Lama. I don't know why him, because I don't have like, it's not that I resonate with him so much, or his teachings. But I saw him, but it was also like I could choose anything to become, to come into this life, but I chose who I am right now. I chose this vessel, I chose this personality, this name, the life. And then I in my journey, then I went back into the literally into the matrix. It was for me so beautiful because
I'm having a lag here.
evolution and for for our human evolution and our individual evolution. And that was, it was such a beautiful feeling, because it gave me more certainty as well, like, yeah, I'm here for a reason. That was the first time that I felt that.
Beautiful. Yeah, I don't know much either. I've always felt things, but just parts of it. Like I've always thought that I lost my life once by hanging, because ever since I was a child, I've had a choking dream. It came back many times, and it was always horrible. And I always, in my dream, I always remembered consciously that I've had it before, and that those were dreams, but now it's real. So when I was a little child, I was standing next to my mother's bed. I'm having a choking dream again, but this time it's real. It was always like a large bit of a fruit or a cork or even wire, prikkeldraad, I don't know the word, like I have a wire in my throat. And every time I was like, oh, I'm having it again, but this time it's real. So later on, I woke my boyfriend and I'm saying, oh, I'm having it again. So about, I think, 15 years ago, I went to an aura reader for the first time in my life. And I wasn't really doing much with spirituality, and I didn't know a lot about, esoteric topics right then. But I was fascinated, always have been. And so we talked, and then at one point I asked her, I said, I have to know one thing. Is it true that in one of my lives, I was killed by choking or hanging? And she was like, oh, that is so special that you know this. Because yes, I see you hanging on a hill with many other people. And I saw some images of that. I have some kind of image, and I don't know if that is something I created or that it really is a memory. But she told me that there were many people all hanging on ropes, and we were fighting for a religious cause, anti-religion probably. I was alone in that life. I didn't leave anybody behind. So I felt actually like, okay, this is fine. This is fine. I fought my fight. I lost, but I will come back to finish it. And in my gnosis with Susanne, I went back to that person, to me. I was always joking, like I was a friend of Jeanne d'Arc. I was always telling, like, I fought alongside of Jeanne d'Arc. And I asked later if that was indeed the case. And after the gnosis, or in the gnosis with Susanne, the answer came that it was indeed true. But I went back to this person, and I didn't feel any emotion myself, because I've always known about this life, even though I don't really have a memory about it. But I went back and I spoke to the person hanging, and I told her, you're not alone, I'm here. And indeed, I am going to finish it in this life. And I noticed that she was really emotional. You remember this, Susanne?
Mm-hmm.
She was really emotional.
Shivers, yes.
Yeah. At that moment, I became emotional too, because she knew I was there. She knew she wasn't dying alone. And she knew that indeed I would finish it, so she didn't die in vain.
Yeah.
So that was really special. And I've always, I've had a fear of diving, being under the water, not being able to breathe, a fear of elevators, of being stuck somewhere. And that has to do with, I see myself sitting as a witch, waiting for my trial. It's not really a clear memory, but I'm sitting in a cellar. It's cold. And I'm just waiting, and I'm locked up. And this feeling of being locked up together with the choking, that has been really a theme in my life. And then I wanted to know.
That's what's happening now, that those themes are surfacing. So they are coming to surface so that we can heal that parts of our souls. There are injuries in our souls. And there's always one theme, for speaking out or fighting for justice, or there's one theme in all those lives. So you don't have to heal all those lives, because there might be 60 lives, I don't know. So you don't have to heal all those lives, but when you heal one life, you heal that theme that was suppressed in your system. And you have to make contact with that person. You have to, it's good to make contact with that person so that she or he can heal and can integrate in your system now with the gifts he or she had. So there are also many people in sessions who come in touch with witches there were, or magicians, or other people who had a lot of gifts, who could see or heal people with herbs and other gifts. And when they heal that part of their soul, those gifts are integrated, and they start on a deeper level remembering those qualities they had. So that's very important, to make contact with this woman in your instance, so you can consciously integrate her and give your permission to heal and to use that qualities again.
And that's why I came to you, because I wanted to know what are my special abilities. What everybody has innate capacities, and I just wanted to tap into that more, the more esoteric part of myself, and to have a more clear image of I know I'm here to fight with my sword of light and truth, also to have a role in this awakening process. But what is the deeper role? And that's when I came to you. And indeed, and it's kind of confusing, because part of you is wondering if you're making things up, and part of you is seeing things and telling things, because you do the gnosis yourself, and Susanne is there to see watches along. So I was in Avalon, Glastonbury. I just saw this mist of Avalon, where it's said to be that you enter by boat, and then you go behind the veil, because Avalon is like a magical land. It's hidden behind Glastonbury. So I was there, and I was in this mist, and then I was suddenly with Merlin. And then your mind goes like, no, don't act stupid. I mean, why would you be with Merlin? But I was with Merlin, and I got a very clear message that I was part of the clan of the keepers of the earth. And Susanne kept on telling me, like, yes, but it's not the earth itself, it's the people. I said, yeah, it's a guardian of mankind, but the name is the clan of the keepers of the earth. I have to name it this way. But it is indeed about the people. It is about mankind. And I also got a very clear words of Sisterhood of the Rose. And I've been in a sisterhood. We've renamed it even the Rose Sisters. I know about the Sisterhood of the Rose. It never came up before for me, but it was stated that it was important. And I was also telling things to Susanne, one part in Dutch and then the other part in English. It's also, my soul kept on switching back and forth. It was really, by that I could also feel by myself that it was authentic, what I was saying. So I had a fight with some archons. I did some energy operations on myself. I can still do it. I did it yesterday. I just took some more dark reptilian energy out, and I put it in the right backside of my aura. But the fun part was that after I had this session with Susanne, I was like, oh, I have to look up things on the internet. I have to look up things about Merlin, about Avalon, about the Sisterhood of the Rose, and about these archons. So I did. And within 5 minutes, and I'm not kidding you, within 5 minutes, I found a document online which had everything in there. And I was like, oh, this is very easy. There's a lot of information to be found about this. But after that, I didn't find anything anymore. It was just this document, and everything correlated to each other. Because I've always felt like you, and I also know, like you, Susanne, close to Egypt, very fascinated by Egypt and by Atlantis. Mm-hmm. So I know now that the Sisterhood of the Rose originated in Atlantis. Then they were in Egypt, and then they were sent away by archons. They were sent away by archons because of their esoteric knowledge. And this was one thing I was telling you the whole time, that I have the ability of alchemy, and also levitation. I still don't know what that means, but levitation was really important. So, of course, the Sisterhood of the Rose was very good in alchemy. And they also, no, that comes later. Alchemy was a thing. So they were sent away by the archons. They were spread all over Europe. And they came to, of all places, Avalon. And there they worked together with Merlin. And Merlin had a gift for levitation. So I still don't know more than this. I bought some books, oracle cards on, the clan of the keepers of the earth, on Merlin. And I will see what comes up. More is not shown to me at this moment, but I'm very much enjoying this journey. And I know where my accent of my focus should be on, namely my own process in uncovering these alchemy capacities, I think.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, definitely. Those, I think the remembering soul memory of the life of being in Merlin's clan. That's what when I think about this session, that always comes up. I think that's really the main part. And there was magic and alchemy, and that's very important.
Yeah, it is.
That's maybe a beautiful synchronicity in a way. I was listening to a channeling 2 days ago, and also Merlin was channeled in that moment, but just briefly. But his energy is also to support the stability within yourself, and he is like, this energy is very much to for support, so to call him in for support. So and now we are in times like where we are all called not just to transmute our own energies, but for our individual process, but also for the collective, right? And we are called into this greater soul mastery the more we are in this planetary process as well. And I so feel you there to support in this people in this process, and to help them to be stable in their physicality as well, to be grounded, because when we are not grounded and stable within ourselves, we cannot transmute energies even with our own process, because we will be so overwhelmed, and the more in the collective it's moving, the more we are also shaking with it. But to have this stability, like, and there you also have this beautiful energy of being so earthly and grounded, and that can help so many people right now in the process.
Yeah, we've been talking about that before, because you notice the difference between my energy and that of Josie. Josie is very etheric, You have a very high vibe, very etheric, and you are really a star person. You're from the star people, and I always say, like, I know that parts of me, of course, are from other stars, but I feel so earthbound. I love Earth. I want to come back, not to do this whole shit thing again. That's only this life. Earth itself. I just love being on Earth. I even have, arrangement with my children that if we come back, we'll look each other up and we become family again. Then maybe my son will become my mother, whatsoever. But we will come back together. So I feel very connected to Earth, whereas you feel more connected to the stars. So we each have our own signature.
Yeah, we have, everyone has his own unique frequency, and with some you can feel it more. I already as a child had this, like, I don't want to be here. Why am I here? I want to go back home. This is something I really, really remember, that I always crossed this, or came to this point, because it kind of felt a bit suicidal as well, then to reach this point as a child where you don't want to be here anymore. And yeah, sometimes I still have this, where I feel this, and when I also remember it's that I want to human life, I want to go back. But the more you understand the greater picture, then, and you can integrate that, then it becomes a different story. Then it's you just reach an edge of your personality, of your conscious universe right now, where you are on the edge of something, because you are expanding, and then it doesn't become anymore like, oh, I want to leave here and go back to home or wherever I feel drawn to, because you can just see it from a soul perspective, and not just from the personality anymore.
How's that for you, Lieuwke? Do you want to stay here, or do you also want to go?
No, I also like to have the life on Earth. For me, I had one regression therapy a long time ago, and all the time I felt I wanted to travel, I wanted to move, and I moved so many times, like 10 times in 10 years, every time again. And then also with my art studio, I had to move. So I got a bit tired of that as well, and I really didn't understand it that much, that I had this urge to travel. And then I did a regression therapy, and there was a certain scene that I was in the middle of a group, and I was just one person traveling around to different communities to bring a kind of healing, or to work with circles of people and bring inspiration, or a sparkle to the people. And then I went on. So I saw myself walking in kind of empty field, like a lot of space. So I was moving from one place to the other place. And when I had that picture for me, I also, my body made that movement as if it got aligned with this life, with this experience. So that gave me, it put things into place. Then I understood, okay, my restlessness has to do with that life, and I don't necessarily do need to travel in this way in this life. So it gave more peace and understanding where this feeling came from. And then I could feel it as a part of me, like, okay, I've lived that life and I've moved a lot, and that's part of me, but I don't need to live it at the moment. I can live another life in this life. So for me, that really did put things into place, into perspective. And the same with my ayahuasca experiences. I've not so much processed stuff that I experienced in this life. I've been taken, it was kind of trance journey, been taken back. Also, I saw some sites of Peru and Egypt, and shaman life, like the Inuit, the Eskimos. I really felt at home when I was put there. It was like, this is it. So really special experiences that it really made me realize that this life is really just a few pages of the book. So it gave me this bigger perspective. I've always felt it, during the ayahuascas, I've been taken to different places, and so I felt like, whoa, it's so much bigger. And then even this year during the awakening, it really helped me as well to realize what was happening and why I'm here at the moment. And so I was really happy also that I've had this ayahuasca experiences, because it all puts it into another place when you start to awaken. You can see it from a helicopter view, from a much bigger view. So these experiences have brought me a lot, and I feel I'm really excited about the things you all are telling me and saying and explaining. I think it's especially this year very important for people to get this bigger consciousness about all what we are.
It's all coming back. They're becoming the multidimensional persons and people we've always been, and remembering that we've had so many alternate lives. We shouldn't actually say past lives, because time in itself doesn't exist. That's a whole different subject for another call. But in quantum physics, everything is parallel. Everything is happening at the same time. And to tap into that will help us see the broader prospect of mankind and the direction we're headed in.
I think that it's important to... Yeah, sorry?
No, we talk a lot about fear and fear for dying, in this year. Many people, of course, are very scared to lose their lives or to lose their beloved ones. But like realizing we are coming back and back and back, it makes it very, very different. Then you can accept that, okay, maybe I will die tomorrow. Maybe that's my scenario for this life, and you can accept it and embrace it. And in this way, live life more fully. So
it's also very soothing indeed, and also to know that the soul doesn't die. I mean, yesterday our cat decided to leave this plane on the 11:11 portal. That was really sad. It was really sudden. We were at the veterinarian, and it was end of story. So my children were, of course, very sad. And then you get to explain that I believe that there's an afterlife, and that we just pass on. We don't die. We're not going away. It's our bodies that go away, but our soul stays there, and you can still be in contact. And they're just at the other side of the veil. They're right here in the room with you.
Yes,
that's very soothing for many
people. I think it's important to talk about this subject, because there's not talked about it on television or the radio or newspapers. It's always they call it strange or whatever, but it's very important that more conscious people talk about this, so that people get used to the idea, and that the door gets a little bit open, so not all people need a regression now or a healing or whatever. Many people are not ready for it, but it starts with talking about it and making this normal and not something scary or whatever. So there is some progress made the past years, but we have to continue, I think.
I think it's beautiful that we had this talk about this, and indeed to give people another perspective on perhaps their fear for death. And they always say that we have 3 big fears in life, and one is fear of death, and the other one is fear of going crazy, and the third one is fear of greatness. And I think we should all head in that direction. Fear of greatness brings us, to the next level. And it's very good to realize that we're not humans having a spiritual experience, but that we're all souls having a human experience. And I thank you all very much. And thank you, Susanne, for being here and explaining your professional side of this story. And let's bring it all more into mainstream God's life. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much. It's a beautiful work that you're doing.
Oh yeah, I think so too. I'm privileged to be able to do this. Yes.
So, and if people are interested to do a session with you, they can contact you? You're very busy. You have many people who like to do the session, but they still can contact you, yeah?
Yes, and there is
Website,
space again, and there are possibilities in January. So from the beginning of December, people can send emails, and then we plan the sessions for the next year. Yes.
We'll put your website in the comments so people can have.
Okay. Yes, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye bye.